So we're going to start our next practice drawing by making this flat white sheet of paper look like a sheet of paper that has holes in it. And we're going to do that by making value changes in our drawing. So the first thing that you're going to do is start to draw round shapes. They don't necessarily have to be circles, and you want to draw them pretty lightly. Draw some round shapes on your paper. Some of them can run off the edge. That's fine. You only need about 4 to 5. I'm going to put one more here. Now my camera is on autofocus, so as I move my hands around, it will try to focus on different things. So sometimes if it does go out of focus, just give it a few seconds and it'll focus back. Alright, so what we want to do to start to make this look like it's actual holes in the page is we're going to start to develop what's called spatial relationships, meaning we're going to create space. We're going to add value to make it look like some things are closer to us and some things are farther away from us. So I've already drawn these holes in the page, and I don't know, it kind of depends on how you see it. Right now it could just look like outlines on a flat page, or you can start to see it as like holes, almost like you can crawl down into this space into a deep dark hole. And we're going to make it look more realistic. Okay, we're going to do that by just applying a light value first. I'm going to do it to this one down here. So in this space I'm going to go as light as I can, and I'm going to start applying color pencil into this space. I have my hand about halfway up my color pencil. I can actually back up some more to loosen up my mark because I want to color this in as lightly as possible. And I'm just going to fill in the whole shape with color pencil all the way around inside those lines. Just keep adding color all the way up to the edge of the line. As light as you can make it. Alright, so by darkening this space, so now this is darker than what's around it. By darkening this space, I already sort of make it look like it's a little bit more of a hole in the page, but I really want to make it look like a deep hole. So I need to consider what's happening here. If you were, let's say, an ant, and you were walking around out here on the spaces in between where our holes are, and you decided you wanted to go down into this hole, then there would be basically a ledge, like a point at which you kind of come off from the top and you go down into the hole. So it's like a cliff almost, like you're going to walk right off a cliff. So at this edge where it goes from the top where it's flat down into the hole, it's going to get darker, because if the light is shining on this part up here, then as it goes down into the hole, there will be less light. So right at the edge, it's going to start to get a little darker. So I'm just going to start darkening up my round shape right at the edge. It's going to start to look sort of like an outline. And that's okay for now, but we are going to change that as we move along. Okay, so right now it's just starting to look more like an outline as we go a little darker at the edge. Now we don't want to just create an outline, okay? So this is not done. We went a little darker at the edge. So now we have this sort of really hard edge between this dark part of my color pencil here and this lighter part of my color pencil here, as well as where the white is on the paper. But we want it to make it look more like a gradual change from light to dark. So more of a smooth change from light to dark than like a big jump from dark to light. So I'm going to take that darker color and I'm going to just start to push it out more into the space that I've created. And I want to just loosen up. So at the edge, if I am pressing down harder and going darker right at the edge close to my line, as I move away from my line, I want to sort of loosen up my pressure and start making a little bit lighter of a mark. So it should gradually go from light to dark. Okay. I can do the same thing on the other side. I can go a little darker at my edges and let it just sort of gradually shift from light to dark as I add color to the page. So now I kind of have this middle value. It gets a little darker here, middle value, a little lighter kind of in the middle. So the best thing you can do to make something look more realistic is to add more value to it. So I'm going to make my edges even darker. And I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did before. I want to gradually let it get lighter as it sort of moves towards the middle. I'm going darker at my edges. And I just want to kind of let it fade out into the middle. The darker you make the edge, or the darker that you make the darkest part. So this is where the shadow would be, where the shadow would fall as you come right off the edge into this hole. Then the deeper it's going to look like the hole is going. All right. So this is what's called adding color. It's called additive. So I'm adding color to the page. Now I can also do what's called subtractive, meaning I am going to subtract color from the page. So I can do that by grabbing my eraser. So you can grab your pencil and just use the eraser on your pencil to do this. So now I kind of have this gradual change from light to dark. Let's say I want to make my light even lighter. I can grab my eraser. So you may have an eraser like this, or you may have an eraser that's just on like the back of your color pencil, on the back of your pencil. I can go into my lightest part of my drawing and I can even start to like erase some of it out to go even lighter if I want to. So if you want to do that, if you want to make a part even lighter, you can just do that with your eraser. Okay, so in this one we put the darkest part of the hole at the edge and we let it stay relatively thin. So if you're looking at this and you start to see it as sort of like a space that you can walk into or fall into, when you look at it, it doesn't really look like a very deep space. Okay, so in the next one, when we color that one in, we're going to make it look like an even deeper hole. So I'm going to work on my next round shape, and the goal for this one is to make it look like an even deeper hole, like it goes even farther back into the space. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to start by just applying a light color across the entire shape as light as I can make it. If I back my hand up on my pencil, makes it a little easier to go lighter because I'm not pressing down so hard when I color. I'm just going to work my way all the way through the shape. I try to keep my stroke moving in the same direction, so up and down like this, versus changing it all around, because then it just starts to look messier. But it's a little harder when I get to my edge, so I always want to turn my paper a little bit at the edge just to make it easier to fill those spots in. Alright, so a good light value. Now I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm just going to start to go darker at the edges, almost like creating an outline, although we will get rid of the outline look of it in a little bit. I'm just going to start here. And we're pretty much making this up as we go. It's a little different when you're actually looking at an object that you're drawing, because when you look at the object that you're drawing, you want to apply your lights and darks in the right places, like where you see them. But right now we're just kind of making this up. So all we want to do from one shape to the other is put the light in about the same place. So the light in this part, the light in this one is sort of a little left of the center, so it's not quite in the middle, it's a little bit to the left of the center. So we're going to kind of keep that same thing going in this one. But in this one I want to start to get rid of this outline look by pushing out the dark edge into the rest of the space, and all I'm doing is at the edge near the line I go darker, I press harder. As I work my way out into the rest of the shape, I just loosen up my grip and I just start to make a lighter mark until it just kind of gradually goes from dark to light all the way through the shape. So just take that dark edge, I push it up a little bit more into this shape, and then I just gradually loosen my grip on the pencil and stop pressing so hard to let it get darker. I'm going to work my way all around doing that, and it just starts to look more like a realistic hole on in the page. Working my way around. You want to make sure it doesn't look like an outline anymore, so add enough darker value and gradually go lighter to get rid of what looks like a hard outline. I'm just going to start working in that color down to about the same place. So my light part is here, and I want to kind of put it in the same place here. So I'm just going to work those values down, work that middle value to where it gets lighter about here. So in coloring this one, I basically made this one pretty similar to this one. But remember, the goal of this one is to make it look like an even deeper hole. So in order to do that, I am going to just make more of the shape darker. So I'm going to start to really push my darker value, my shadows, farther into the space of the shape. To make it look like it's going a little bit farther back into space. I still want to make sure I don't have any hard edges between dark and light. Just kind of smooth it out by adding value. And I can even go darker right at the edge to really push that value change from light to dark. The more realistic you want it to look, the more of a value range you need to have. More of a range from dark to light. Your darkest dark to your lightest light. So I'm just going darker at the edge now, but I'm shading and adding it out, adding more dark and letting it get lighter as I work my way towards that light section of my drawing. Okay, so the more I push that dark, the deeper it looks like the hole is. And you make a judgment call. So you kind of look at it and decide when you have enough of it there. All right, so you see how this one looks like a deeper hole than this one, because I added more of a shadow, more darks farther into the shape. So you can start to show more changes in depth. This one looks deeper than this one by just adding more value. So if the ant were to walk down farther into this hole, it has a lot farther back to go than if it walks into this one, because this one doesn't look too deep at all. Okay, so value changes can make something look closer to you or farther away from you. So we're just going to continue to color in the circle shapes on this page to make it look like this is a sheet of paper with holes in it.